wouldn't have to have one. We like our rules. All right, by my clock, it's 1 o'clock. We'll go ahead and get started. I know everybody's got like 5 places to be right now. So we just got one bill, House Bill 412, and where's Chairman Dempsey? You ready? All right.
Thank you so much. So, House Bill 412, and you do have a new copy, I think, before you. We made one quick change. I'll direct you to that since this is a last-minute sub. So it's HB 412, looking at LC 338705S. And if you go to page 6 on line 133, 34, 35, the only change was to more correctly and appropriately defined the educational requirements. So that was a last-minute clarification for you. The purpose of this bill is to address the need for regulation, particularly licensing, of individuals in the practice of applied behavioral analysis. I have chaired several study committees over recent years that have dealt with many of the impacts of brain and different developmental issues, and that conversation comes from this to address the workforce. Most importantly, it is a consumer protection and accountability measure. Right now, we are seeing different for-profit companies, firms moving into our state. This is happening across the nation. And this will allow the consumer, the client, to be aware of the certification and the true ethical standards and educational background that they are seeking. Many of the clients, I think you may have heard of through autism, particularly I know when I worked on some of those measures, we dealt with this as one of the most important forms of therapy, but it also applies to geriatric patients, those with traumatic brain injuries and developmental disabilities. The purpose of going ahead and doing the bill right now is that this summer we will need to take it before GORC, the Georgia Occupational Regulation Review Council. I'll be learning something new, a brand new skill, because I've never done that, and I look forward to it. I've always heard about it, so we will go through that process as well once the bill has been passed hopefully out of the House, to lay at rest during the summer and be taken up again when we return. Currently, 33 other states actually do this, so we are not unique to doing it. And there are no legal protections right now for Georgia patients against those who might claim to practice ABA professionally, or to ensure that those who do meet established standards for education, practical training, and demonstrated knowledge of behavioral analysis, that it is clear that client relationship is very clear. Additionally, no entity in this state exists to provide oversight of ABA or the practitioners or investigate allegations of wrongdoing. So therefore, consumers, employers, funders, state agencies, all are left without any protection. This will help those individuals be fully aware and receive the best care and best opportunity to thrive. Behavioral analysis is very, very important. I will tell you, the practice is a distinct profession, and it requires distinct training and distinct competencies. I am not an expert on it at all, but to work through some of this, we do have a couple of people here who are. I believe Dr. Muting and Dr. Meevers. Dr. Muting is the most recent past president of the Georgia Applied Behavioral Analysts, a psychiatrist, and is at Marcus Autism and on the faculty at Emory, among many of the other things that he does. And then Dr. Meevers is a psychologist also with Marcus and past president of Georgia Applied Behavioral Analysts. There's also a letter in your information today, too, to support this. If it would be your pleasure to allow them to present the factual information that you need, and then I will be available, too, for any questions.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Chairwoman Dempsey, for that introduction. So I'm Colin Muting. I'm a board-certified behavior analyst at the doctoral level. I'm also a psychologist. I am past president of the Georgia Association for Behavior Analysis, and I also chair the licensure committee for the past 2 years, obviously why I'm here. My day job, I work at Marcus Autism Center with kids who engage in problem behavior. I'm the program manager for the intensive outpatient unit in severe behavior, so kids who engage in aggression, self-injury, things like that. I'm here representing the Georgia Association for Behavior Analysis. So, Mr. Chairman, I'm happy to walk through, the sections of the bill if that's how you'd like to proceed, or just take questions.
Does anybody have any questions, or are y'all up to date on the bill? Or do you want, everybody familiar with the?
Yes, sir.
You have an association.
Yes, sir.
What you're looking for simply is a board to be formed to help your association and the state of Georgia protect those patients by board members that are appointed for the protection of Georgians, just like any other medical, dental. Okay, all right.
Correct. That's exactly it. Our association right now is just for continuing education and kind of professional development.
Right.
This board, like you said, would provide that protection to consumers and practitioners.
Okay,
Correct.
any CE, I'm sorry, I have not read the whole bill, so.
okay.
You got any CE in here, requirements for?
The requirements for getting a BCBA or a board certification in behavior analysis
Right.
are provided by the Behavior Analysis Certification Board, the BACB. It's very confusing. They require certain amounts of continuing education credits to keep your certification. The part of the bill is that you have to maintain those kind of criteria from the Behavior Analysis Certification Board, which is, I think, 40 continuing education units every 2 years. So you have to meet that to keep your certification, which would then also keep your licensure.
So you have a certification board already
Correct.
set up, you just don't have a licensing board?
It's a national certification board.
National, okay.
Correct.
Okay.
The problem that we have found is that they are allowed to provide oversight to people who have the certification, but
Right.
anyone else coming in claiming to practice ABA, they have no oversight. Correct.
Okay, that makes sense, okay, great, thank you.
All right, you got another question here, Representative Jackson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate the bill. How can a retired military officer participate in this?
I'm sorry. Can you clarify the question? I'm sorry.
How can a retired military officer participate in this?
In behavior analysis?
Yes.
So most of our, I think, like behavior analytics services are probably provided to, varying ages, kids, adults, people who engage in problem behavior, various forms of developmental disabilities, traumatic brain injury, geriatric populations. We do have, to really kind of get into the nitty-gritty of your question, we do have retired military officers who have children maybe that are on the spectrum that require, applied behavior analytics services and things like that. The behavior analysts also kind of work with, drug addicts and providing services for addiction and things like that. So there's a wide variety of kind of services that behavior analysts provide.
Right, Mr. Chairman, follow up.
Yes, sir.
Now, I was speaking more so, let's say if I'm qualified and I have these same kind of qualifications from the military and I want to transfer, will this allow for me to take those qualifications that I have from the military into this particular
If
field?
you have a certification in behavior analysis from the Behavior Analysis Certification Board, which is that national board, you would then be able to get a license.
Okay, all right.
All
Excellent,
right.
I like it.
All right, do we have any other questions? I don't see any.
To mind. So, let's say you have someone from another state coming in to Georgia and you set this up. And we're talking about a state license. How would they move and acquire a Georgia license with a license outside the state? Is reciprocity set up in here?
There is some reciprocity set up, so that we have modeled this bill after the national, one of the national professional organizations for behavior analysts. So there is some reciprocity. As long as you kind of meet those kind of criteria, then you would be kind of grandfathered in and then could come to the state. There's also a part in here about acquiring a temporary license if you wanted to come and kind of work with a family on a temporary basis. And so there is reciprocity reciprocity. Across most states, it's not, every state has their differences in how their bill is worked, but across the vast majority of the states, there would be reciprocity.
So 34 states, if you're practicing roughly some number like that, you would come right into Georgia and practice?
Yeah, I mean, roughly, I would say it's a little bit less because, again,
Okay,
there are some
okay.
bills, but yes,
That type of thing. In other
correct,
words,
yes.
Some professions, you have states that band together to do a compact.
Sure.
And what you've got is just like a national compact in a sense, that states have agreed to accept licenses across state lines?
Yes, in most states. From my knowledge of looking at other bills in most states, the kind of criteria to get a license is identical, if not very similar, so they have that reciprocity. There are some states that have some different kind of things that are involved in their licensure that would not allow for reciprocity. I don't know the states offhand.
And I guess you'd have to get this set up first, get it in place, then you could do the compact after you got the standards and
Yeah,
stuff
so
set.
is that what you're looking for, is you're gonna get, and then you're gonna add? as
Add
you go
other
along?
states, yeah, I mean, it
Well,
definitely.
or you're gonna add to language as you go along then.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because once you set up your board,
Right.
then they'll set up,
The
I mean,
rules
y'all
and
kind of got it
regulations.
outlined, what you got to have, then that board would set up all the ins and outs of
Correct.
it, and then that's whenever you start working the compact to say, these are the standards that you got to have to move.
We'll have some more fun in.
We'll have some more fun in here.
Right.
All right, is there any other questions from any of the members? All right, thanks, sir.
Thank you.
Does anybody else wish to speak on the bill, or? All right, I think you was next.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, I'm Jamila Pope with the Marcus Autism Center, the Government Affairs Director. And as has already been mentioned, this bill will create a new licensing structure for board-certified behavioral analysts. These professionals are already working in Georgia, as you've already heard. We both employ these professionals, and we also provide training for them. And we believe this would help ensure that these professionals practicing in the state are properly credentialed and that they receive the necessary continuing education credits going forward. And we're very supportive of this bill and hope that you'll vote in favor of it.
All right, thank you, ma'am. You want to speak on the bill?
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, can I take this off here?
Please, yes. I don't hear well.
That's good, I don't speak well anyway.
That's me either.
I'm Tom Bauer with the Occupational Therapy Association of Georgia. Appreciate, I have talked to Representative Dempsey and I've talked to Ms. Clifton, and they were very generous. We had a good conversation in December on the phone. Let me start off by saying we are not at all opposed to the licensure of applied behavioral analysts. I think it's a good idea. We do think the bill is a little bit loosely drawn in places, the scope of practice, but if we had our druthers, it would be a little bit more specific. For instance, some other professions like PTs or OTs or speech and others talk about a level of education, and this defers a whole lot to the board. And I will say that in looking up and talking to the association and to Wendy, that we discovered that the ABAs do have to have a master's degree. It's not listed in the bill. But
Actually, it is.
oh, did you put it in?
Yeah, there's a substitute to the bill now.
Oh, it's a substitute already?
Yeah, and so if you look on lines 130, let's see,
Okay.
135,
Thank you. Okay.
they do have to have a master's degree. There's some other things they made there.
Okay.
And I think you come in a little bit late on, but basically what we're doing, I mean, you structure this thing and you pass it and it goes to GORC and then they make their suggestions and we had to come back and do it again. So that's kind of what.
And we were planning, and I apologize for being late. I'm bacheloring and had to go home and let my dogs out.
Oh, no, that's fine.
So I didn't hear the prelim. So are we in a posture that you're going to vote this long pending GORC analysis? Is that?
Well, it's got to go to GORC anyway. So if we vote it out, it's got to go full
Okay.
committee, then the
Okay.
House, then they'll
All
have
right.
to set this summer
Okay.
with GORC, and they'll make their suggestions on
Okay,
it, and then
thank you.
come back next year.
Okay. Our biggest concern, and I'll say some of the details for GORC. are in dealing with the registered behavior technicians, because they, in our frame of reference, or the, and I don't really speak, or I'll speak for the OTs, but I think speech is sort of similar to, we have occupational therapists, occupational therapy assistants, and the occupational therapy assistant is not even, I would say, comparable to the technicians in the sense that they actually do more than the technicians do in this field. And they're required to have an associate degree. And quite frankly, the licensure board tells me they're moving toward a bachelor's for assistants. And so while the technician in this bill is not doing the assessment and drawing up the plan, we are concerned that they are sort of turned loose and are not really directly supervised much at all. This did come up with our conversations, and I think one thing that gave some of our folks pause is that some of the analysts, who are no doubt well-trained, have 8 to 10 technicians working for them at a time going out into the home. And so, whereas, and I appreciate the work that the Marcus Center does, I have a better comfort level of those technicians being at the Marcus Center where there are other medical personnel and health personnel around. So we would like to see some closer supervision somewhere along the line, because these folks really don't have anything but a short training after high school. So,
Yeah, and on line 24 through 27, it goes into detail about behavior technicians. It's basically practice under close ongoing supervision of a licensed behavior analysis and licensed assisted behavior analysis and deliver services,
yes, sir.
blah, blah, blah. So, so they are under, I mean, they do have someone on them.
I do not mean to imply they do not have supervision, but I think a lot of it is case review later. And again, this is another area that is sort of kicked over to the national organization and their standards. And there's really not a lot of on the spot working with the families, for instance, by the analysts that we can tell, and we would like to see that addressed as we go along.
Okay.
But again, we're not against the posture of the idea of licensure. We think it's a good idea.
Well, the great thing is there's never a perfect bill. There's always somebody wants something a little extra. So I understand.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right. So we got anyone else wish to speak? We're all good there. All right. Any questions from the committee? Sir?
Make a motion, move the question.
All right. I got a motion. Second. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? All right. Congratulations. And that's the only bill we got, so the meeting's adjourned.